Okay, guys. So we are going to do a walkthrough of the poem that we just took a pre-assessment on, just so that you have a more thorough understanding of what it's about. And remember, the standard that we are looking to cover here is RL 7.3, which means we are looking for narrative elements and how they work together. So, for example, we're looking for how the setting, so we have to find the setting, shapes or creates the character's actions or creates the plot, the whole storyline. So that is what we are going to be looking for. We're not going to be looking for narrative or figurative language or any deeper analysis of this poem. We're just looking to understand what the poem is telling us. What is the story that's behind here? Okay. So the first step that we want to do is to look at the title. And the title here is The Land of Storybooks. So looking at that title, what does it tell us? What type of elements from the story is it giving us? And really, it says the land. So we know that's part of the setting, right? It's a place. And then it also says storybooks. So whenever you hear the words storybooks, do you think of somebody that's like older, that's in middle school? For example, could you imagine your English teacher saying, "All right, kids, get out your storybooks"? Not really. Usually in the higher level grades, we call these, get out your novels, get out the text. So storybooks kind of gives us that younger age group kind of feel. So right from the bat, the title of this poem lets us know that the setting of our poem is going to be something involving storybooks, and it's probably going to be about younger kids. So that's what I'm going to write in my annotations. Then let's go ahead and get into the first stanza here, okay? So, at evening when the lamp is lit, around the fire my parents sit. They sit at home and talk and sing and do not play at anything. So, right here, we know that it is nighttime because it's in the evening and the lamp is lit. So, we know lamps mean that it's dark outside. We know that we have characters of the speaker's parents. And then we also know that what are the parents doing? The parents are talking. And it doesn't sound like the speaker's okay with just talking. It sounds like they're not doing anything because the speaker's saying, "and do not play at anything." So it kind of just sounds like they're ignoring me. Okay. So that's what we're getting from this first stanza. Let's continue on to this next stanza. Now with my little gun I crawl, all in the dark along the wall, and follow round the forest track, away behind the sofa back. So here it's kind of crossing, the story is kind of crossing back and forth, okay? So we have our speaker telling us that he or she is crawling in the dark along the wall. So, okay, they're in their house. So we set the setting that they're in their house, but then this next line, and follow round the forest track, away behind the sofa back. So we're kind of making that move from the in-house setting to the forest. Okay, so that's the first hint that we get that this story is going to take place somewhere other than just in the speaker's house. Okay. So now we are moving on to the third stanza. The third stanza says, "There in the night where none can spy, all in my hunter's camp I lie, and play at books that I have read till it is time to go to bed." So now we're kind of getting insight on what's happening. Again, we can see that the speaker is now by themselves where none can spy. So they're kind of hiding by themselves somewhere where nobody can see them. All in my hunter's camp I lie. So this is where the speaker's imagination is coming out to play. We know that they're pretending to now be a hunter and they're in a camp. So the setting's kind of changing from inside the house to a campsite. And then it says, and play at books that I have read till it is time to go to bed. So it kind of gives us a clue as to how our speaker is getting this imagination, why they're thinking that they're a hunter, why they're in the forest. It's kind of because they're reading these books. The books that the speaker has read before is giving them this imaginative world, okay? So then we have, these are the hills, these are the woods. So again, a different setting that's coming into play here. These are the hills, these are the woods, these are my starry solitudes. So we know that the speaker is now in nature. We can see a starry sky, so that's kind of like imagery here for us. We can see what the speaker is seeing. They're outdoors, and we can see stars. And it also says the word solitudes, which means that the speaker is by themselves. And there the river by whose brink the roaring lions come to drink. So really think to yourself, are there lions and is there a riverbank in the speaker's house? Probably not. So again, the speaker is describing to us this imaginative world that they dreamed up from the influence of these storybooks that they're reading. So we know that the speaker is getting pretty imaginative here. The next stanza reads, I see the others far away, as if in firelight camp they lay. And I, like to an Indian scout, so now the speaker's comparing themselves to an Indian scout, okay, so being sneaky, around their party, proud about. So we can tell what the speaker is doing right now. They're kind of spying on the other people that are in the room. And at this point, we know that the only other people that are in the room, as far as right now, is the speaker's parents. So what is the speaker doing at this time? They're laying somewhere that is secretive because they're like an Indian scout. They're hiding a little bit and they're spying, they're prowling on the other people that are in this room. Again, we're really getting the speaker's imagination here. So they're not only just dreaming of these different lands, these different settings, a forest, but they're also dreaming of lions coming into the room and also pretending that they're an Indian scout. So really, this speaker has great imagination. And then we come to a close with our last stanza, which says, so when my nurse comes in for me, home I return across the sea and go to bed with backward looks at my dear land of storybooks. So again, we're getting this imagination when my nurse comes in for me. So we're still kind of getting that imaginative world, saying that they're a spy in the woods somewhere. They're saying, oh, it's a nurse. It's probably, the nurse is probably, the speaker's nanny, or even maybe one of their parents, trying to get them to do what? Take them to bed. Tell them that it's time to go to bed, which again tells us and lets us know that the speaker probably is of a younger age because they need somebody to tell them to go to bed. And then the imagination of the speaker comes out again. Home I return across the sea. Are they really going across the sea? No, it's just the speaker's imagination. Going to bed with backward looks, it lets us know that the speaker is not happy to be going to bed. At my dear land of storybooks. So he's looking back at his storybooks that are probably laying on the floor as the speaker was reading through them and creating this imaginative world. So it really just shows us how much the speaker really cares about their storybooks. And guys, we just analyzed that poem together. Do you see how easy it is whenever we go through a poem stanza by stanza and just analyze what is happening and looking at the narrative elements of the entire poem? We were able to pick out the different settings. We were able to talk about what was actually happening in the story, which is the plot. We are talking about the character, really the speaker, who is the main character in this poem, and their character traits of being imaginative and kind of adventurous. So really, you did a great job. Awesome work today, guys.